Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Wudi as part of their custom monthly music review. This is an act that I've reviewed before, you know, Tokyo Incidents or Tokyo Jihen, and the track that I'm going to review today off of disc 2 is titled Vivre. So we're going to listen through this track from start to finish and we're going to hear what we think. Just going to put the lyrics on and let's go, let's do this. What do we have? I like the barbershop vibe to it immediately, you know? Man, nice staging of those vocals and that kind of video gamey kind of effect. Fascinating intro to a song for sure. The acapella is actually like a really intriguing touch. You know, I don't know what the song is about, but I also don't know what's going to happen next. Is this going to be the whole song? Who knows? But they're making these extended chords with their voices and it's wonderful. And mysterious with these reverb tails. That mistiness to it, you know? I think there's also like a church organ in the background or something like that, which is kind of fun to listen to. Adds to the suspense and drama. Huge sounding. I would keep expecting guitars or the drums or the bass to come in, but I don't know if we're going to get that. I legitimately am kind of taken aback by it. How her voice raises over top of these really fresh sounding arpeggios with the male backing. Or the chord progressions, harmonies. The staging and the attack on some of those parts as they come in is really fascinating. Ba 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 ba. It's more percussive than I'm used to. I kind of enjoy the fact we have that approach to it. It's not just, I mean, it might not have effects on it, but it's just in case it does to kind of make a kind of a blunt entrance to some of those vocal harmonies there. They might even be cutting up the waveforms in the studio, you know? Yeah, Sheena sounds very exasperated. I mean, like to carry a track on a 2-minute 40 acapella barbershop quartet with Sheena in the center there and that upper range there, basically mirroring the various sort of chord progressions and sort of bass lines that we have in a typical sort of like Tokyo Jihen track is exemplary, you know. There was a wonderful little adventure we went on there, and honestly, I think it would have been enough just without even this part here, where the rest of the band comes in, but like, that's just the level that they're at. They can have 2.5 minutes of just vocals, and then they can bring everything else in and make it exemplary. Again, we're mirroring some of those vocal lines, you know, mirroring some of those tails that we had in the previous part. And I adore that because we're less kind of focused on making something entirely new. We're sort of rehashing what we had before, but by the introduction, by virtue of the introduction of all these additional instruments, it just elevates it, you know. Great unison of those guitars on the left side as well, bring it up. rolling bass line there. Great chord note group. Is that what 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4? Because if that's the case, it is really quick. That is a phenomenally quick tempo. Halftime. Riffing off some dominant sevenths or something like that. With an innocence to those high keys. It's interesting because the bass is really kind of scary sounding and the upper parts are really nice and refreshing. That kind of groove there, that jazzy sort of like backing from the percussion there, keeping it swinging along there. Whilst the pianos bounce around, the keys bounce around. It's excellent. And the tremolo picking of those guitars at the end is fantastic choice. Ragtime piano at the end to finish this out. Oh, I'm liking the inclusion of the sort of barbershop-ish kind of structure we had with the motif at the beginning. However brief it was, kind of bringing us back into that. Use of unison chords or unison bends on the guitar on the left there. Really full sounding mix. I'm happy with the amount of dynamic range I think in this one. It hasn't always been something I've been happy with Tokyo incidents, but that's okay. Excellent. It's a shame that this because I think this song here, Vivra, was obviously with Japanese subtitles, but I think the next one has English ones, which is fine because I think it was sung in English. But anyways, look. It was a great track. I want to go into the conclusion now. Because this is my conclusion to my review of this track by Tokyo Jihen titled Vivre. What do I think this track is about? Well, my limited understanding of French tells me that vivre is like to live. So I think that this track is about life and being alive and the joy of creation and everything like that and trying to get through it. Made the most of it. I think the tension that we had in some of the harmonies and instrumental parts, combined with like the freshness of some of the parts in the upper areas there, kind of the heaven and hell aesthetic, trying to find a place in between was wonderful. And I think that, if you understand the lyrics, I don't know the lyrics, but I nonetheless appreciate what was done there. The storytelling sounded interesting anyways. The vocals from Sheena Ringo were fantastic. I'm really happy with what they were doing there. Like her head voice was her signature tone there, and at times she did sound exasperated, like she was out of breath, or like it was just a kind of a very raw sort of performance there from her. And I kind of enjoy that because often I find musicians will be very conservative unless it's very specific parts, but she was just belting it out for most of it. I think part of it was to keep up with the backing vocalists as well, especially in that early section there, who were having a wonderful time expressing themselves. I mean, I was really happy to listen to it. It sounds like a really dope tune, and I got nothing but love for it, eh? But I guess more importantly, when I listened to this track from Tokyo Incidents or Tokyo Jihen, I just think that the fact that we managed to get all those really interesting sort of chord triads individually noted on each of the vocalists to sort of form those structures within the harmony for the first 2.5 minutes, to allow those to be that sort of tight and succinct, especially with the little cuts there, the sort of like more sort of like blunt entrances. Blah, 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 blah. That's it, and that might just be like a technique thing. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it. But regardless, I'm really happy with what they were able to pull off there. Shows a fundamental understanding of music theory and composition there, and I think part of it comes from maybe the people doing the vocals also being instrumentalists. And I mean, the stuff that Tokyo Jihen makes. That's usually fairly technically, in theory, complex. Just because they can pull that off in a way that's still catchy and entertaining to listen to, so it's great. The track at 5:30, I feel like there was great use of that real estate. You know, we had the acapella part for the first 2.5 minutes. Then the bass, drums, guitar, and everything like that came in later on with the piano and keys, and Sheena taking the mantle as the main sort of lead part. But there were other opportunities for other lead instruments to come in, such as, you know, like the lead parts on the left side, and the keys on the right hand kind of ascending above her in those bridge sections. And she's, you know, there was full force in those chorus parts, really charismatic, vibrant performance there to kind of bring everything up. The drums kept pace well with the swing groove. The bass line had like a kind of a walk to it, where it was really fantastic and energetic to listen to, especially at the tempo that it was at. Wouldn't have made sense for too much legato stuff going on with the bass. The occasional guitar leads we had were like unison bends, or like slid solos there with a bit of tension and grit in there over top of the extensions and the really playful key parts, and the drum fills. We had the triplet tom parts and everything, you know, like there was a lot going on there instrumentally. It was not a note out of place. I think that the song benefited from having the vocals at the start for the 2.5 minutes, just because the listener's like, wait, this is longer than what I'd usually experience for like a pure sort of like acapella sung part. Is this gonna be the whole song? So it takes you out of that expectation and that predictability of a lot of modern music, and even contemporary older music, where like you have the kind of you have to get into the crux of the song sooner rather than later, unless it's like patently through composed. I genuinely think at this point, whenever I go into a Tokyo Jihen review, the only real issue that I've ever had is like a lack of dynamic range of some of their earlier recordings. But outside of that, you know, they're just clearly great musicians who know what they're doing from a performative perspective. The accompanists never sit on one theme for long. We have changes in the chord progressions and bass lines there. You know, we have some chromatics and semitonal bits as well. They're just for a bit of edginess and a bit of tension. And we have these wonderful resolutions that go in there as per the genre, where we know that we've kind of built things up. And then there's just an influx of good vibes as it becomes big and you can vibe along and bop your head to it. I think the thing that'll make the song damn near flawless is if you could understand the words natively, but because I don't, that's okay. I can appreciate the musicianship regardless outside of that. And overall, I mean, I think with Sheena's voice and the story of To Life, it sounded like, the theme sounded like it was celebrating life, or to live, you know, what it means to live. So hopefully I haven't mistranslated that word and it's a complete waste of time me talking about all that stuff, but you know, it's okay, that's my best shot, right? Finally, the recording, mixing and mastering, the studio production. What do I think that this track was like in regards to that? I think that the vocals were nicely filtered and EQ'd and rendered. There was a raw performance there without too much sort of processing, aside from like a really kind of misty Ruby sound bit in the middle of the intro section. The backing vocalists were nicely filtered to kind of notch alongside her in the stereo field, and it was nice and wide. It was like full of life and very warm sounding. The drums, guitar and bass and key parts were also nicely mixed in there, you know, like without too much compression or anything like that holding them back. I like the fact that everything sat in there politely, and the keys as well were nicely filtered. You know, like it never sounded as if we were trying to overwhelm the listener with everything going on. There was a sense of dynamic range there occasionally when things came down or up there, especially in that intro section there. But, you know, like, there were no weird resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. It was nice and loud without pumping. This is effectively my review of Viva, my SP Patrons review of Viva by Tokyo Jihen, Tokyo Incidents. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via the various social medias and the Spotify page. And stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the great stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SP Patrons review. Spiderhands out.